I never wanted the corner office. Not really. Sure, I dreamed about it every schmuck in a suit on Wall Street does. But when you're sitting in that glass cage, staring out at the Manhattan skyline while the vultures circle below, you realize it's not a throne. It's a target. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and I'm the new Chief Operating Officer at Vanguard Tech, a multi-billion-dollar beast that chews up startups and spits out their bones. I spent 15 years climbing the greasy pole to get here, 15 years of late nights, fake smiles, and deals that make your skin crawl. And now, at 38, I finally made it. But the air up here, it's thin. And it stinks of betrayal. It was 8:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when my phone buzzed. I was still in the office, tie loosened, staring at a spreadsheet that might as well have been written in blood. The caller ID read, unknown. I should let it go to voicemail. But something, call it instinct, call it stupidity, made me pick up. Ethan Caldwell, I said, my voice flat. A low, distorted voice crackled through the line. Sound effect, static, a faint whisper of wind. Voice, mimic a distorted, eerie tone. You're in over your head, Caldwell. They're coming for you. Check the server logs. Now. The line went dead. I sat there, frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. Server logs, who the hell was this and who were they? My gut churned like I'd swallowed a gallon of bad coffee. I glanced at the floor-to-ceiling windows. My reflection stared back, a tired man in a wrinkled shirt, looking like he'd aged a decade in a day. Outside, the city lights twinkled like a million little knives. I opened my laptop, fingers shaking as I logged into Vanguard's secure server. I wasn't a tech guy, hell, I barely knew how to fix my own printer, but I knew enough to navigate the admin logs. What I found made my blood run cold. Someone had accessed the financial records. Not just accessed, altered. Millions of dollars, siphoned off into shell accounts I'd never seen before. And the user ID tied to the changes, it was mine. Sound effect, a sharp gasp, chair creaking as I lean back. Voice, panicked, breathy. No, 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 no. This can't be right. I hadn't touched those files. I hadn't even been in the office when the changes were made. Timestamps showed 3:14 a.m. last Thursday. I'd been at home, passed out after a bottle of bourbon and a fight with my ex-wife over alimony. But someone had gone through a lot of trouble to make it look like I was the one stealing from the company. And then I saw it. A single email in the server logs, sent from my account to an external address I didn't recognize. The subject line, Project Eclipse, Final Phase. I didn't know what Project Eclipse was, but I knew one thing, I was being set up. And in corporate America, when someone sets you up, they don't just want your job. They want your life. The next morning, I walked into the boardroom like a man stepping into a lion's den. The air was thick with cologne and ambition, the kind of room where deals were made over handshakes and souls were sold for stock options. Vanguard's executive team sat around the mahogany table, their faces a gallery of fake smiles and cold eyes. At the head of the table was Richard Hargrove, our CEO. 62 years old, with a silver mane and a stare that could freeze hell. He built Vanguard from a garage startup into a tech empire, and he ruled it like a king. Next to him was Vanessa Klein, our CFO, a woman with a smile like a razor blade and a reputation for burying anyone who crossed her. And then there was Marcus Tate, my so-called mentor. Marcus was the reason I'd gotten this job. He'd been my champion, my guide through the corporate jungle. But now, As I looked at him, I saw something in his eyes I hadn't noticed before. Hunger. Ethan, Hargrove said, his voice a low growl. Sound effect, chair creaking as he leans forward. Voice, mimic Hargrove deep, commanding, with a hint of menace. We've got a problem. A big one. I swallowed hard, my throat dry as sandpaper. What kind of problem, sir? Vanessa slid a folder across the table. It landed in front of me with a soft thud. Sound effect, paper sliding, a faint rustle. Open it, she said, her voice dripping with venom. I did. Inside were printouts of the same server logs I'd seen last night. My name, my user ID, the altered financials, everything. My heart pounded so loud I swore they could hear it. This isn't what it looks like, I said, my voice cracking. I didn't do this. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his arms crossed. Sound effect, chair creaking, a faint sigh. Come on, Ethan. The evidence is right there. You've been skimming millions. What do you think, we wouldn't notice? I stared at him, my mouth open. This was the man who'd taken me under his wing, who'd toasted my promotion with a 500 bottle of scotch just last month. And now he was throwing me to the wolves. I'm being framed, I said, my voice rising. Someone hacked my account. I got a call last night, someone warned me about this. Hargrove raised an eyebrow. A call from who? I don't know, I admitted. The voice was distorted. They told me to check the server logs. Vanessa laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. A mysterious phone call that's your defense. You sound like a bad movie, Ethan. I clenched my fists under the table, my nails digging into my palms. I wanted to scream, to flip the table, to grab Marcus by his silk tie and shake the truth out of him. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed proof. Hargrove stood, his shadow looming over me. You've got 48 hours to explain yourself, Caldwell. If you can't, you're out. And I don't just mean out of a job. I spent the next 24 hours in a haze of caffeine and paranoia. I couldn't trust anyone, not my assistant, not the IT team, not even the barista at the coffee cart downstairs. Someone inside Vanguard was behind this, and I had to find out who before my time ran out. I started with the email from my account, the one about Project Eclipse. I traced the external address it was sent to, a dummy Gmail account that been deleted hours after the email was sent. Dead end. But the email itself had an attachment, a PDF labeled Eclipse Proposal. I opened it, my eyes scanning the pages. It was a plan to acquire a rival company, Nexus Innovations, for pennies on the dollar. The proposal outlined a strategy to tank Nexus's stock price by leaking false data about their financials, data that would be traced back to me. Once Nexus was on its knees, Vanguard would swoop in, buy them out, and dismantle them for parts. And there, at the bottom of the last page, was a signature, Marcus Tate. Marcus. Of course it was Marcus. He'd been playing me from the start, grooming me as his fall guy while he orchestrated this takeover. But why? What did he have to gain? I needed more. I needed to know who else was in on this. I called the only person I could think of who might help, Lena Carter, a junior analyst who'd always had a knack for digging up dirt. Lena, I whispered into the phone, hunched over in a stairwell. She didn't hesitate. What do you need, Ethan? Everything you can find on Project Eclipse. And Marcus Tate. I think he is setting me up. There was a long pause. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, "I'll see what I can do. But Ethan, be careful. Marcus has eyes everywhere. Lena came through that night. She met me in a dive bar on the Lower East Side, her laptop tucked under her arm and a nervous twitch in her eye. Sound effect, bar ambience, clinking glasses, muffled chatter, a jukebox playing a faint rock song. "Ethan," she said, sliding into the booth across from me. "You were right. Project Eclipse is bigger than you think." She opened her laptop and showed me a series of encrypted files she depulled from a hidden server. "Marcus isn't working alone," she said. "Vanessa is in on it. And so is Hargrove." I felt the air leave my lungs. "Hargrove, the CEO?" She nodded. "They've been planning this for months. They're using you as the scapegoat to cover their tracks. Once Nexus is acquired, they'll pin the leak on you, fire you, and probably press charges. You'll be in prison while they're sipping champagne on a yacht." I slammed my fist on the table, making the empty beer bottles rattle. Lena hesitated, then slid a USB drive across the table. "This has everything: emails, financial records, even a recorded call between Marcus and Hargrove. But Ethan, if they find out you have this, they'll kill you." I took the drive, my hand trembling. "They can try. The next morning, I walked into the boardroom with the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. The executive team was there, their faces a mix of smug satisfaction and barely concealed contempt. Hargrove sat at the head of the table, his eyes locked on me like a predator sizing up its prey. "Well, Caldwell," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Time's up. What do you have to say for yourself?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding like a war drum. I plugged the USB drive into the conference room's projector and opened the files. The screen lit up with emails, financial records, and the recorded call between Marcus and Hargrove. "What the hell is this?" Marcus yelled, jumping to his feet. "It's the truth," I said, my voice steady. "Project Eclipse. You, Vanessa, and Hargrove plan to tank Nexus Innovations and frame me for it. But you got sloppy. And I've got the proof." The room erupted into chaos. Vanessa screamed at Marcus, Marcus shouted at Hargrove, and Hargrove just sat there, his face a mask of cold fury. "You think you've won," Caldwell, Hargrove said, standing slowly. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." He reached into his jacket, and for a split second, I thought he was pulling a gun. But instead, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Security," he barked. "Get in here. Now." I didn't wait to find out what happened next. I bolted for the door, the USB drive still in my hand. I made it out of the building, but I knew I wasn't safe. Not yet. I sent the files to every major news outlet in the city, along with a detailed account of what had happened. Within hours, the story broke. Vanguard Tech's executive team exposed in a massive corporate scandal. Hargrove, Marcus, and Vanessa were arrested. The board brought in a new CEO, someone from the outside who promised to clean house. And me, I walked away. I didn't want the corner office anymore. I didn't want any of it. I moved to a small town upstate, bought a cabin by a lake, and started over. The air up there is clean, and the only vultures are the ones in the sky. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that distorted voice on the phone, warning me about the server logs. I never found out who it was. Maybe I never will. But whoever they were, they saved my life. and in corporate America, that's a debt I'll never be able to repay.